This is Katie Ann, and this is the Bar and Friends podcast.
I am Christian Barr, and this is the Bar and Friends podcast. On today's podcast, we have a woman who puts her trust in Jesus, a mother, life coach, speaker, entrepreneur, podcaster, lover of fitness, coffee enthusiast, and I kind of want to say this too. She's a golfer, so I'm gonna definitely try to figure out. Oh yeah, I did my homework. I did my homework.
I love it.
This is her first time on the pod, and hopefully, it won't be her last. Katie and on Bar and
Thank
Friends.
you.
How are
Oh,
you?
thank you. I am so excited to be here. I love everything you're doing. I am just so excited to get to share this with you. And I hope this is one of many as well. This is just a spark of a great beginning, I think.
I love to ask this question to my new friends because I do consider you a new friend. So
We're new friends.
yes, for sure, for
Perfect.
sure. If you could be able to describe the season that you're in right
Mm.
now in a song title, what
Ooh.
would it be and why?
Oh, man.
Mm, mhm.
Whoop, there it is.
I love that. That was actually incredible.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to use it as a clip. Sure, definitely going to use that as a reel because that is dope. That is awesome. Whoop,
I have
there it is.
There it is.
Wow.
Shaka laka.
Oh, you're my best friend now, yo. I love it. Now you got to tell me. You got to give me a reason, like why. Like I can maybe assume why. Whoop, there it
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I was thinking of like, I feel like I should find like a real Jesus song, but I got so many things right at the top, and
is.
that's like first phrase that came to my mind. So I'm like, I just feel like this is a season of redefinition for me. And it just here it is. And here I think I'm just relearning and identifying who I am and really stepping into my own skin and learning to like really love and appreciate me for me. And it just feels really freeing. And I feel like that example that I'm giving to my kids, like it's just top notch energy. Like all the time. Like that's, and I think my kids see that and I want to teach them that, but more, I just want to be able to own that and really just enjoy it. And I do. So
Oh, I like that.
thank you.
Whoop, there it is in your face. This
Well,
is
there
this is
it
this
is.
is me, my
Yeah.
authentic self. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I just needed reminding that, I needed to be
Mm,
reminded that this is who I am. And it's really amazing. I don't need to like alter or adjust or satisfy or appease anybody else but God. And God's just like that. I learned like that. He who is in me is greater than anyone in the world who's in the
that's
world.
it.
And I'm
Mm,
like, I mean, what else is there? It's like,
mm.
there it is. So
Oh my goodness. Yes. Oh,
good.
whoop, there it is.
There it
Now, since we're talking about music, like you gotta, you
is.
gotta, you gotta share this with me. Like,
Yeah.
what are a few genres? And they don't
Oh,
have to be Christian. I mean, hey, I
no.
mean, if they are,
I
it's
just
cool.
discovered Christian. Yeah.
Really?
I did. Just discovered Christian.
Oh
So
my
I'm a little
goodness.
I'm a little obsessed. I really just listen to all like Christian music, but I grew up in Eastern Washington in a rural area, and we literally listened to everything from like country, Garth Brooks, George Strait, to Shania, to Nickelback, to
Yeah.
Sublime, to
Wow.
Coolio, and you know,
Oh, cool.
like yes, I love me some Gangster's Paradise, like, so, like I just like all the things. I'm
all
all
the
over the
things.
place. I love me some rap. I love me some like everything.
I love it. Oh, I love
I'm all
it.
over the place. It depends on my mood for
Man.
sure.
No, for sure, definitely. Like, and I'm the same way too. I actually had a
Yeah.
conversation with a friend of mine today. I'm like, I'm everywhere. I mean, for
Mhm.
me personally, I mean, I love hip hop, I love R&B, but listen, I love Garth Brooks. I love me some Shania Twain,
Yeah.
Dixie Chicks, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
for me,
Yeah.
it's music is an expression of
Yeah.
just who you are. You know what I'm saying? And how
Right.
you feel at that moment. And so
Mhm.
I love it. I'm here
Yeah.
for it. I'm here for all of
I'm
this.
all over
Okay.
the place. Oh, I'm like boys to men, little like
Yes.
brandy, like so
Okay.
like
Okay,
everything. So for my
Katie.
for my 40th birthday, I threw myself a formal and I made a compilation playlist of all my favorite songs from like my middle school, high school years. It was the
Right.
best. It was
Oh.
all over the place.
Now
It is.
you're also a podcaster as well, and I've
Yeah.
checked out a few of your episodes, and I
Oh, thank
love
you.
them. I love them.
Oh, thank you. Which ones did you listen
Absolutely.
to?
So I heard the latest one.
Oh, I
The
was a little
yoke, was
fired
it the
up.
yoke one? I don't know if it's the yoke
Yoked with
one.
God. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that.
Mhm.
Oh, girl.
I got a
Mm.
little on a soapbox.
Oh.
My
But it was so good though, Kate. I
Oh,
was
thank
like,
you.
"Oh, man." You know who you kinda remind me of? I'm gonna gas your
Oh,
head
who?
up again a little bit, and I don't maybe you should be familiar with her, but Mel
Okay.
Robbins.
Oh, yeah, I know Mel, yeah. I mean, I
Just
don't
the
know her
hair, the
personally.
swag, I love it. Because you're I like to call you the Christian version of her because
Oh,
it's like
thanks.
she's very like she'll give it to you real and raw,
Yeah,
but just, hey, like,
but I love
but
you.
I love
Yeah,
you. Yes.
I do.
Yes.
I'm telling you real because I love you. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
I
but
love
that's
it.
what I think I didn't. I've learned so much in my life to just appease and to just like smooth things over that I learned true love was just hiding. And I think that I've come to learn that true love is really holding yourself and other people accountable by having loving conversations, and that you don't have to be angry or fired up or really emotional in order to have like a really raw, honest conversation, and that true connection and true relationships and true connection comes from those. And I just think I want everyone to know how amazing that feels to have somebody like love you enough to really tell you what God would say. Like what I think about, Christ wouldn't say that, but Christ said some really pointed, direct, offensive things to people from a place of love. And he always did it from a way of like, I understand you and I see you and I see your pain and I just want to help you with that. And I feel like that's really, really who Christ is. And I just think we forget that so much. And I just want to like remind people you can have really hard conversations and have the most genuine, amazing connections.
KA, we are about to go into a segment called the Genesis.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
let's do it.
and of course, Genesis means the beginning of something. And I would love to have you share your Genesis
Okay.
with me for sure. Now, here's what I realized, and I don't know why I just got just a chill with what I'm going to tell you. But this is what I realized as I was, thinking about, our podcast tonight. You know, when you think of Genesis, obviously you think of the beginning of something.
Mhm,
But I was thinking about because we talked a little bit prior before this pod, and
mhm.
I begin to realize that this is actually your season of Genesis. It doesn't always have to go back to when you were a kid. It can
Yeah.
be something where you have and I don't know why I'm even saying this right now, but it can be a season where you are healing from something, getting
Mhm,
over something, and then
mhm,
you made that decision between you and God. Like, okay, wow, like today is my day for the
mhm.
Genesis because I
Yeah.
just went through something, and Lord, you brought me out of that situation, and I've
Mhm,
learned and I've healed. I'm like, okay, like
mhm.
this is my brand new beginning.
Yeah.
So I just want you to, but now with that being said, you don't have to start from where You can go back. You can talk about
Let's not
whatever,
limit
but
ourselves.
yeah, don't limit. Yeah, yeah, no limitations. But definitely share whatever you want to share as far as like
Yeah.
your cliff notes to where you were up to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. I really do feel like this is like my season and my beginning of something. I saw a post somebody shared about how she's had this realization. She's 40 years old now, and that she now has at least another 40 years, if she lives to be 80, as a full time adult with a full developed brain, not
Wow,
having to go back through childhood to live an entire lifetime ahead of her. And I was like, light bulbs, like, yeah, isn't that amazing?
wow,
That's good, right? Such a good realization. And I think that is how I feel about this season. And I mean, I grew up LDS. I grew up very religious. I grew up with divorced parents, which was ironic. In the 80s, it was not acceptable or normal, quote unquote, to have parents who were divorced, especially not in my culture and my religion. And it was contentious, and a lot of that shaped my identity. I'm one of 5 kids from my mom and my dad's marriage. My mom got remarried and had 2 more, so there was like 7. And it just, that whole, I always thought of myself as this child version of Katie, even through my adult years, even when I got married, even through my marriage. I was married for 17 years. I have 5 children of my own. And I just got to a day when it was like, this just can't be it. like, I feel like I'm off track here. And I
right.
was like, what is happening? And I just, when I was a teenager, one of our like apostles in the LDS church, we have prophets and apostles that we follow. And one of the apostles had come, which was a huge deal. We lived in a small Eastern Washington area. It was a very big deal for an apostle to come to our area. And he said something that really shaped the path for me going forward. This question and this statement always was in the back of my mind. And he said, if you could see the woman God created you to become, you would rise up and never be the same. And that just always stuck with me. And I can't even find that again. I don't know where he said that. So I'm like, apparently I really needed to hear that because nobody else remembers that.
Wow.
But I think there's like little God moments like that all throughout my life that I just knew there was a God, and I knew I was his, and I knew he had something for me. And about like 12-ish years into my marriage, like I'd had my 4th baby, and I was like, what do you want from me, God? Like, I know like this can't be it. I don't enjoy this. I love my children very, very much, but I didn't enjoy motherhood like I thought I would. My entire childhood, I thought all I wanted to do was be a wife and a mom. I thought that was my whole purpose. I thought, well, I don't have any gifts, so I must need to be a mom and a wife. That's a terrible idea, by the way. That's not where you go from, girls. Okay. Like, don't, not you. Please don't use that as advice or a gauge for you as you're going through life. So, not a good spot. Not a
Not a
good
good
spot there,
spot.
or a motivation to be married. That's
Yeah,
or have
yeah.
children. But I just was like, this is it. Like, have you ever had like a really big goal or life event that you had always looked to, and you get there and you're like, I think I missed something.
Yep, yep.
That's where I was at. Like, I loved my kids, but I was really burnt out. I was really tired. I was really, my ex and we got divorced after 17 years, and we didn't have a good connection. We didn't have good communication. We didn't have that relationship that I was like, I thought it was going to be different.
Right.
Kind of thing. But I had this realization like, oh, I have to contribute. And I was like, oh, wait, I missed that instruction. So I'm gonna have to go back and relearn that. So I went to therapy, and I felt like was doing all of these things. And it just was like, one day I realized that my kids didn't have to have the same experience I had as a divorced child. And I was like, oh, well, then let's do something else. Let's do that. And that like was the beginning of the end of my marriage. I mean, it'd gone on quite a little roller coaster, but um, then I found Jesus of the Bible, and I was like, um, excuse me. I can't. How many times I would be reading something in the New Testament, and I'd be like, I is that in every Bible? Because I don't remember learning that. And I just had all these new awarenesses. And
Right.
eventually I realized like Jesus doesn't change. These are Jesus's words. And that doesn't match what I learned. And so I ended up leaving the LDS religion and I converted to Christianity. I actually got baptized this past April. So I'm just a little baby Christian, but so on fire for him. And I feel like that's the story of the Genesis is like now I'm learning who he is. Like
Absolutely.
mind blowing. It's just mind blowing to me that I didn't ever know this before. And I'm just addicted. And so I just feel like when you're there and you just can't get enough of Jesus and he just really has a hold, it's just like Paul says, a new creature in him. I'm like, you just can't explain it. And there's nothing else like it. And I'm like, there's nothing else that I want to do but this right here. And I just think that's the story, really, is just the beginning right now.
In your marriage, were you saying that you were, in a sense, bored of the marriage?
Um,
Or
I think it was just,
or just a collaboration of just a lot of things?
yeah, it was definitely a collaboration of a lot of things. I think that it was unhealthy in so many ways. Like, we didn't have communication, like I mentioned. We didn't have any kind of connection, quite honestly. Like, looking back, there was no real emotional connection. There was no real physical connection. There was no, like, it was just, here we are, we're married to each other, and this is what you do with married people. You know, like I'm supposed to
Right.
love you as my husband, you're supposed to love me as your wife. But like when we really stop and look at it, we actually don't even like each other. Like we don't like at my core who I am and at your core who you are, like we're not anywhere on the same page, and we've
Same
never
page,
been
right?
on the same page. We've never, like, we're not equally yoked. Like, we're not even each carrying the same kind of a yoke. Like,
Woo.
it just was like we got married 8 weeks from the day we met. So, and this is very typical of like, yeah, 8 weeks. So ours was fast, but very typical. Courtships are
Okay.
very short in the Mormon culture.
Okay.
Like 6 months to a year is long. So just so
Wow.
you know, like you're supposed to get married fast. Anyway, so we really didn't know each other. We didn't know like who we were. And because neither one of us had the skills, like neither one of us had learned communication skills, neither one of us had learned connection skills. And because we didn't have that, we didn't really have an ability to develop that kind of connection
Right.
that you see like when Christ describes, how husbands love their wives, or Paul talks about husbands and wives and how they treat each other. It's like neither one of us had the ability to do that with each other or for each other. And once I started learning some skills, it was, how you set a standard for a relationship, either intentionally or unintentionally. You just have a dynamic.
Right.
When person starts to change the dynamic, it's naturally friction because you're used to this dynamic. And my ex is very safe and cautious and doesn't like change. And so that caused a lot of waves. But it was over a course of, like I said, 5 years. And he just ultimately was like, there's just nothing wrong with me. I just don't need to. And he didn't want to. It just was so uncomfortable for him. And I really was okay with that. I really was just like, I think that the most loving thing I can do is to let both of us go. Like, you're really unhappy. I'm really unhappy. You don't want anything else. And that's really okay. But it's not okay for me. And I don't think this is what God wants for either of us. And that wasn't well received, which is okay. Which
Wow.
is
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But I think that is one of also the gifts that God has given me, like to really just appreciate him as a son of God and let him be who he wants to be and allow
Mm,
God to do, like, I really want him to want what God wants, but it's like you can't force somebody to want that. And so the aftermath of all of that, it's been just over 2 years. And it's been just every single day is a reminder that this is exactly what God wanted for me to do. And I'm so sorry, but I do. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm sad, but I just like, I would never have found God and had this relationship. I used to always think that I needed to show my children a better example of a healthy relationship because my
right.
oldest was starting to repeat the patterns. And I mean, there was lots of dynamics there with the kids that is not healthy. And I just thought I have to give my children a better example. I have to teach them that this really isn't healthy and this really isn't what you should repeat. And what I've come to understand is not only is that really what it, but bigger is I had to show them where God truly is. And I never would have found where God truly is if I hadn't have left. And I never would have been able to give my children this opportunity if I really hadn't left. And while it's like, well, I've come to learn like that's divorce is a real big no. I mean, in the LDS religion, it's a big no, but not
Right.
the same as I've learned in the Christian biblical
Right.
sense of it.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Uh, so
Right.
I'm like Romans 8:1 is like there's therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. I say that all the time, and I'm like, just everything else I really have to give to God, and I really have
Right.
to trust that this was His plan. And if I got it wrong, like there's been no sign at all that I got it wrong. But like, just to be clear, no sign at all. Like I just feel like it's the most it was the most difficult thing. I mean, it really was bad from the very beginning. Like we went on our honeymoon and I was like, ooh, I think I think I might have misunderstood something.
Time out, KA. Time out.
Yeah.
Time out, KA. Well, wait. You said from the honeymoon?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. We went on our honeymoon and I was like, eternity. Okay. 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 I did. I was like, lots of deep breaths. I was like, what is I mean, my brain was like freaking out. And again, I was like, I got married. I always said, I'm not going to get divorced. I'm not going to do that to my children. I didn't even have children at the time, but that was not even a thought in my mind. I just was thinking, I think something's off. Like, I think something's not right here, but I never explored that really enough. I just was like, well, I made my choice. Pretty sure this is what God wants me. I think it's pretty normal. And as I got through life and community and stuff, it seemed like that's what everybody else was going through. So I'm like, I think this is just normal. I think this is just, hard stuff. And for a long time, I was like, every marriage struggles. Every marriage has, so I know what this is. I might as well stay with this hard than pick a hard I don't know. So for a long time, I told myself that. It's like, if it was supposed to be different, it would be different.